Welcome on another episode of Democracy Innovators podcast. And today we are here with Marcin Woźniak. I'm sorry for the pronunciation. I already and welcome and thank you for your time for being here.
The pronunciation is good. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. And as a first question, I'd like to ask you, what is a Swarmcheck? That is a project you are working on.
Yes, Swarmcheck is a technological solution of Optimum Foundation with a mission of improving rational public discourse. And technology, in our opinion, is most effective way to do it. So we created Swarmcheck. It's mainly argument mapping software for collective decision making, Delphi processes, and improving collective intelligence. So it can be applied in a variety of uses and topics, because argumentation as its core mechanics is very universal, right? We see argumentation everywhere. So with correct technology that supports collective argumentation, we can improve not only the quality of the discussion, deliberation, and collecting data in the process, but improve decision making as well by having more perspectives, more critical voices, and better quality of the decision as a whole. So yeah, that's it. Probably you have more questions. I will elaborate.
Yeah,
those.
of course. Do you have any sort of use case that you think could fit very well for Swarmcheck?
Sure. We have many use cases. We completed over 40 projects with this software. So I will give you some range of topics that we tackled in the past. So maybe I'll start with the current one we are excited about. There is a method of achieving numerical results for your questions called the Delphi method. So it's the expert deliberation, anonymous, which is an iterative process of producing numbers, estimations about some future event or some risk, some prioritization, and with anonymous argumentation about those initial estimates, we can achieve consensus of the group and be quite sure that our final results achieved by this process is good for decision making or strategic decision making or risk planning or even scientific publications. So, for example, a pharmaceutical company approached us to conduct Delphi process with clinicians to estimate the risks of illness contracted with some virus. After the treatment, there is a period in which their solution is given to the patients, but after this process can be can appear some additional symptoms. So for people with certain criteria, we can estimate how risky it is for them to basically stop the treatment, right? And with those data, we can show, okay, experts collectively have consensus that the treatment needs extension for certain criteria with this amount of risk to stop them. And with this data, we can have scientific publication that can convince, for example, decision makers in government to finance the extension of the treatment. Another case, more on the side of policymaking is basically creating collectively new strategies, new policies in local governments. And so one case was the renewal of a 10-year educational policy in the city of Poznań. So the challenge was, okay, what do we want to achieve in next 10 years? What are the most important issues? Because education is big thing, and there are many people who are interested in the outcomes. There are students, of course, there are teachers, there are school directors, public officials, NGO workers. There are academics who know a lot about the educations and effectiveness of certain policy interventions and so on. So there are people with different point of view on the same topic and with different interests, and we have to somehow make them come up with the solution for those policies. So we use Swarmcheck to map all the argumentation about the key proposals to basically come up with solutions that are anonymously produced and represent the collective intelligence of the group. Maybe here is the good time to explain what is argument map for people who hear about this for the first time.
Absolutely.
So basically, if you have a book, right, you have lines of text. You start reading it from the usually from the left top corner and go to the right and go to the bottom and so on. So it gives you only linear progression of some narrative, right? You basically have a story that have beginning, middle, and end. But we can extract all the useful information, so the specific claims, and map their relation to each other. Basically, arguments are those claims that relate to each other by giving each other support, or they contradict each other, or give or show disagreement. So when we extract those claims, we can generate a graph, a map of individual claims and their relationships. So right now we don't have this linear text. We have something that is a network of reasoning, of argumentation, of ideas, and we can clearly show how they relate to each other. This gives us a lot more information about the reasoning and show the subject we are discussing more objectively, because there is no story about this. You can basically travel as you like through the connections on the graph and read what are the agreements, what are the voices of support, how people explain their support, what are the justifications, and on the other hand, there are disagreements, contradictions, critical voices, and those in turn can have their own supports and disagreements as well. So basically you build block by block this graph of collected reasoning, and when you do this anonymously with software that can integrate different points of view, you have outcome that is not controlled by anyone, but only represent the collective knowledge of the discussion gathered, and then you can conduct additional analysis of this graph. So, for example, you can analyze how certain claims are networked, how many supports are there, if the supports are well sourced. So at the end of the process, when we have graph of all arguments and the relationships to each other, we can analyze it from the standpoint of, okay, which claims are more have the best supports, what are the sources if we use for example scientific data to support some claims, what are the contradictions, disagreements, critical voices, and every level of this graph can have the same things. So basically, every when we start with the first premise, we can add to its to this artifact another arguments. So let's say I click on the premise. Every student should wear a school uniform, something like that, and the system asks me why one should think so, and I give my premise, my reasoning. Let's say I think that uniformity allows poorer students to not feel excluded, and this my explanation is a claim of itself, right? So people can agree with it and give their reasoning. So maybe there is some scientific study that supports my claim, or maybe there is some criticism that even though the uniforms may provide that to some extent, there are different aspects and so on, right? That undermine the idea of feeling well for those type of students. In this way, we have graph of all reasoning that is collected through the discussion and can be additionally supported by the reasoning source from literature, from research, from other sources, even from other discussions, because the claims are reusable in our system is a very important aspect, that it can connect discussions that are held in different place, different time. And after we achieve this argument map, we can run analysis on it. So we can see, okay, what is the line of reasoning that supports our main claim, main idea? What are the risks? We can see on the graph basically the how strong are the branches that leads to some some outcome. We can see which claims are the best networked in the graph. So it can indicate that this claim is very important for people because they addressed it a lot. We can see which claim don't have any support, and those may be just some fringe ideas, or just the group don't have any way to support it or contradict it, or is not very interested in them. We can see that some initial line of reasoning was very well supported, but at certain point is undercut by very good counter argument. So this is something that we have in the end something that would be very hard to analyze by a person, because all those connections you have to have in your own head, right? And you have to remember, okay, how the claim, argument, sentence that is spoken at the end of the meeting relates to something that was said at the beginning, right? It's very hard to have it in mind. Even if we use something like large language model, artificial intelligence to analyze this transcript of the meeting, it would be hard for artificial intelligence to have those connections in its let's say attention. So argument maps give very good and reliable and explainable reasoning about the issue that is created by collective intelligence. And this is why I think it is one of the best tools to support collective decision making.
When we talk about collective, I mean, the test you have done, I mean, how many people were involved in this? And then I also have another question related to the Delphi method. If you can give us some short explanation.
Sure. So the how many people are there? It depends on, of course, on the issue. We had groups as small as, let's say, 4 people to discuss something, but as large as 40 or 80 people. So of course, it is let's say individual session of the discussion. The optimal number of people is around, let's say, 10 people. But we can have many sessions in parallel or in sequence, because we can, when somebody reuses some claim from the past, some argument from the past, the system will join those graphs, and we can have something that is bigger than anything that one group can come up with, because it's now the result of the discussion of 2 groups. So yeah, it depends. It can be scale up to basically global civilization, if we imagine so. The core insight in this process is that argumentation in public discourse, or in scientific discourse, is not infinite in every topic. In every topic, we hear a finite number of arguments, and when we try to put them onto graph ontology, we can see that, okay, here are the same repeating points. We don't have to map them over and over. We can reuse them from the past and see how they were addressed. This is very important to counteract misconceptions, disinformation, and basically mistakes and errors one can make in decision-making process, right? So it's quite important for us to allow groups not to repeat mistakes over and over, as it is the case in public discourse right now, but we want to use this collective intelligence to only build on top of previously gathered knowledge. Yeah, so the idea is that it's potentially feasible to basically map out the whole public discourse by collecting all important arguments. Important in the sense that they are reasonable in this discussion. We have to exclude spam and something that is not arguments and so on, right? But we don't in any way intervene in the merit of the claims, because this is what arguments are for. If somebody thinks it's unjustified, one can give counter arguments, right? And this can allow us to avoid something like censorship, or focusing only on something that moderator think is important. So yeah, it's not needed to have the global civilization to map out the whole discussion, the most important argument, but the group of let's say 10 to 40 people is usually more than enough to have to represent all the viewpoints that are appearing in public discourse.
Sure. And about the Delphi method, that seems very interesting. And did you get inspired by that? How?
Yeah. So the Delphi method is something that exists from the 50s. It was developed by Rand Corporation as a mean to enhance decision making in very important strategic decision making, and it was improved and developed through the years. There are many versions of the Delphi process. The main problem that we help to solve of the Delphi method is the time-consuming part of the process. So basically, every expert that is invited must remain anonymous, and at the other side have to present their estimates in every round for each question, and have to present reasoning remaining anonymous. So classically, the surveys were sent to the experts, they were collected back. Somebody made calculations. Okay, this is the mean of your estimate. This is the standard deviation. So the measure of lack of consensus, if the standard deviation is higher, or the how much consensus is achieved if it goes to zero. So basically, how much variety there is in the estimates of experts, and then in order to get close to zero, so to achieve consensus, experts need to present the reasoning. They have to present, okay, I'm trying to convince you that my point of view is correct. So let's say my estimate was lower than the mean of the group. So I can give some counter arguments for the position that should be high, right? And then we can go into details. So basically, one expert present the line of reasoning, another expert can address it, can present their own arguments, and in collective argument mapping, it's very easy. It's anonymous already. Everyone can see the same map. We are on the same page. We speak the same language. It's everything can be done quickly and with preservation of best practices to achieve collective intelligence. But when we don't have the tool like this, it's easy for moderator or for person who collects the information to present it in a way that will break the anonymity. Let's say experts write short essays. Okay, my reasoning was blah blah blah, and somebody can, okay, I know that this style of writing. So this is this expert. The anonymity is broken, or maybe some experts are very to the point and write only one paragraph, and other experts will write long essay, right? How we can compare those? And of course, the problem of plain text with the linear narrative still can misguide other experts. But with argument maps, we only have reasoning, and we can objectively see, okay, all the arguments that were deemed important by experts are here. We can look at them and then rethink our initial estimate and give another one, which will lead us to consensus. And from our experiments, our projects, we can see that the standard deviation that is measured on each round, the measure of consensus, is shifting significantly after the round of argument mapping to the consensus. So I think it's improvement on that part. And of course, we don't need to create summarization of statistical analysis for the estimates. We don't need to make summaries of every essay that expert did. Everything is real time showing on software, so it can be done really quickly. So the process that could take months can be done in one day or one sitting, basically. It depends, of course, how many questions are there and so on. But this is the improvements are in time and quality, because the important thing at the end of the process is we don't only have results with summary, statistical summary, and what is the mean that the averages on the after the last round, and the measure of consensus, the standard deviation. We additionally have the reasoning that led experts to this conclusion. So there is additional safeguard that this estimation is correct, or even if some future event will give us new information, we can see, okay, if this new information can be added to the map, we can see how can it affect final conclusion. So it's easy to to use this knowledge for the future goals.
So, if I understood correctly, the platform help people to, let's say, to find agreements and disagreement about a certain topic in an analytical way and through an iterative process. So, when new informations are collected, people can agree or disagree on a single information, on a single part of the problem.
Yes, exactly. And we can go to the nuances. So that's the very important aspect from the standpoint of reducing polarization, because especially in political topics, people tend to align with some ideological lines, party lines, and so on. But when we go into the detail, to the nuances, people are much less ideological, and they can, from my experience, discuss very reasonably particular claims. So maybe initially there's some disagreements, but when we go to those premises of the premises, we can see that people are quite rational, and when they see viewpoints of others, the perspectives they didn't come up themselves, they're actually learning to think more critically about the issue, and with this additional knowledge, they're in real time adjusting their own perspective. So yeah, I think it's quite important that this process is not only interesting and good in terms of producing good data, but it's good for the users themselves. They are being educated on the topic in real time by engaging with argument mapping. And not only that, the critical thinking ability of people who engage in argument mapping increases radically. So there were some studies that measured the standard deviation of improvement of critical thinking of students who did semester of on argument mapping in academic setting, and in comparison to first year of college in general, the critical thinking ability of students who used argument mapping course was 3 times better than the baseline of first year of college. What's more interesting, people who attend critical thinking and philosophy mixed course, yes, in critical thinking tests, after basically there are standardized tests of critical thinking, and there were 3 situations that were studied in different studies. But when we compare the results, the first year of college is 3 times worse in terms of increased the ability of critical thinking than a course of argument mapping, and the critical thinking course with mixed with philosophy gives worse result than argument mapping, about 2 times worse. So from the techniques I know that increase critical thinking ability with some scientific study backings, I don't know the better tool for increasing individual ability of critical thinking. Yeah.
So it seems it can have a lot of applications, and I mean all these new technologies that we are trying right now are going to be applied in different fields, and probably we still have to discover in which specific field one technology fit very well or not. But it's very interesting that it can do several things. I mean, not just about finding an agreement, but also related to education or to study. And about your experience, would you like to share something about you? I mean, where did you
Yeah,
grow
sure.
up? And then later we'll talk also about your experience, work experience or education.
Sure. So I was born in Poland. I still live here. I was born in Starachowice. I moved to Krakow to study law at Jagiellonian University. But instead of being a lawyer or a judge or something like that, I was mostly interested in argumentation about the legal theory, about the philosophical aspects of the law. Because maybe what's my characteristic is I'm quite attracted to philosophy, and I think it's very useful for solving everyday problems counterintuitively, because when people think about philosophy, it's something that is detached from reality, and it's not entirely true. Maybe some academic philosophers are quite detached from reality and solving real life problems, but good thinking about problem solving is something that always helps you to achieve better results. And from the perspective of society, and basically talking to each other, having to live together, we are creating laws and rules to how to behave, how to conduct ourselves, and those rules can be better or worse, right? They can improve some type of value that we care about, or can make things worse. Sometimes there are trade-off. For example, on one hand we have freedom, on the other hand we have security. Oftentimes it's one of the cost of the other. But let's ask about the conditions in, let's say, political dissidents in Russian prison, right? The, Russia is a neighbor of Poland, so we have a lot of bad history with each other. So we with the current geopolitical situation, try to distance ourselves from their political regime. But that is precisely why, because in political the political dissidents in Russian prison, they don't have either freedom or safety, right? So it showcases the example can showcase to us that there's some way to optimize society to basically have the most freedom, the most security at the same time. And then of course there are some trade-offs afterwards, but at least we can search for those optimal solutions that nobody is worse off, and the society as a whole is better off. This is optimum Pareto principle, and well, not the principle, the optimum Pareto analysis of the social values that gave the name of the Optimum Pareto Foundation, which me and my colleagues in the Jagiellonian University founded basically at the end of our studies, because the idea that we can use deliberation, we can use good design principles about creating policies, creating laws, could be applied to decision making, to have better policies on municipal level, on national level, maybe on international level. And it's something that can show us that the abstract reasoning about the argumentation theory, about the philosophy, and about the values can have real impact on a decision that affects us on everyday lives. Because if society makes good decisions, everyone is better off. So yeah, that was the motivation to start the the Optimum Foundation, the common interest, let's say, about the dialogue and deliberation and alternative means of solving conflicts. And on top of that, from more than 10 years ago, I started to be interested in artificial intelligence. And this technology, in my mind, is something that is one of the greatest potential for humanity and one of the greatest risks. Because basically, how we are different than other species on this planet is by our mostly collective intelligence. And this is something that we are adding to our collective intelligence of humanity, this technology that improves and, let's say, accelerates some aspects of intelligence. And when I see that the current most powerful systems are black boxes, so we don't really know how they work. Even the developers that created the tools cannot explain how the certain decision was made. It's something that worries me, right? Because how we know if the solution is correct, if it's not something that leads to some sort of deception. What type of values are maximized? Are we agreeing with those values? How we can assure that the individual inputs, our values, are the things we care about, is something that artificial intelligence that conducts those calculations in the black box cares about us as well, right? We cannot be sure. So this is something that is a worry of mine. But on the other hand, when we use artificial intelligence to reduce the errors that we make, to help us select information that is well sourced, and it is not disinformation created by internal political actors or external, like in the case of Russia, one of the biggest perpetrator of disinformation currently. It's just too much for one person individually to have good information diet and check everything and follow all the fact checkers and fact checkers. This is too much. But with the collective intelligence and the aid of artificial intelligence to replace our thinking, but to enhance our thinking and enhance our collective intelligence, this could be one of the greatest benefit for humanity, in my opinion. But the important thing is the replacement part. When artificial intelligence replaces our thinking, what's left for us, right? The decisions are just flowing over our head, flying over our head. We are not subjects in the deliberation, in public discourse. We basically are objects of manipulation. We are just data points that are used to optimize some, financial results of some company. This situation when we as humans lose our personhood in decision making is something that is very worrying for me in emergence of artificial intelligence and rapid growth of it. But this is something that we expected for a long time, so we prepared Swarmcheck and Argument Mapping as a tool not to be in competition with artificial intelligence, but the tool that preserves good deliberation, preserves the ability to voice our values, our reasoning, our point of view, and be included in decision making that can be incorporated in artificial intelligence as well. So the question was about my experience, and I quickly moved to ideas. So maybe to summarize it, I'm a person that is moved by the ideas, and then when I see something that is important, I try to act on it and do something useful. So maybe that's something that
don't worry,
motivates me to do my work.
it's a free discussion. So whatever you, it was very interesting, by the way, and I totally agree about transparency for AI. I mean, not having AI as a black box, because then it became like a sort of having faith in AI. Then I mean, AI says something, and we just have to trust it, and we don't know maybe the data that were used to train the AI. And as you say, developers also maybe don't have a clue about why AI is saying something. It is saying something and not something else. And so absolutely. And when you said about freedom or stability, you made me think about The Brave New World, the book from Huxley.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. I mean, your background is, I mean, you studied law, and law is about, both freedom and both stability. And was there a moment like when you had the idea about using technology for these kind of things, and was there like something particular, like a personal experience, a conflict that you have seen, I don't know, that you thought, okay, maybe law is not enough, we need something else?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I was interested in sociology of the law as well. So basically, how the law can shape personhood. So basically, the law says the president can do this, this, and this, and when you are a prisoner, you can do this only, right? So the idea that law is an instrument that gives power, I think it's attractive just for people in general. The power is attractive for people, but when I observe the process of democratic elections, it's very strange to me that people are not question that much the whole process that we develop, because most of people are not satisfied with the results. Of course, currently there is some process that hijack the collective discourse, and we see on the internet that so many people support somebody and so on. But people are generally more rational about their I mean in general about the overview of democracy. They don't think it's the best system to select most optimal person to hold the position, to create the best possible laws. Most people think about democracy as the least good system that actually produce some amount of freedom, stability, and we have to deal with those stupid politicians as a some sort of unfortunate externalities, right? But it strikes me as something weird, right? That we can have better decision making systems locally when we, for example, discuss something on a seminar about the law. So the discussions were very smart, thoughtful, empathetic, and they incorporated many points of view. But if the same topic is discussed, on Parliament, it started to resemble, a circus, something that nobody watches as intellectual activity, but maybe for entertainment to see what how stupid one politician is, or what outrageous other politicians said. And we are actually dissatisfied with this type of deliberation that is seen in parliaments, right? So the question was for me, okay, how we can take the thoughtful deliberation and actually good knowledge about from people who study certain topics, and move it little bit towards and extract some reasoning, some arguments, and move it towards decision making in parliaments where the decision about our everyday lives are made, right? Even on local level, how we can access the voices of the citizens to govern our city better. And the problems are very human. We have even politicians are humans. They have cognitive capacity of human. It's very normal thing. So one cannot put everything on in their head. So this is why I started to go into artificial intelligence field, because in artificial intelligence there are solutions for those problems. Well, for the problems of having a big amount of data and making decisions about that. But there are some additional issues, and basically solving issues about the issues led me to the combination of artificial intelligence and law and reasoning about norms, about values, about policies. And from this, I just started to, going to conferences, going to libraries. When you have problem to solve, it's much easier to educate yourselves on those topics, because you care about solving it. So in my line of study, I tried to follow those interests more than the classical, let's say, syllabus of some courses. And yeah, I think that this approach can lead to more interdisciplinary view of the problem. And then when you see the problem, in more places, in different areas, then you can see, okay, nobody is really solving it, because everybody is in their own silos, intellectually, let's say. They're not combining necessary knowledge to solve this problem. And you can see it, in everyday discussion when, let's say, you start just polite discussion with somebody, and all of a sudden you are shouting at each other. So from argumentation, it led to argument in a sense of conflict. That those situations strike me as something that usually can be prevented with better dialogues, but better phrasing of some words, better listening. But it's actually hard when so many arguments, so many claims fly around in the discussion. We don't have cognitive capacity to store them all and see all the connections. So we use our emotions to move ourselves in the discussions, in the dialogues. And I think it's unnecessary. Of course, it's good when emotions animate you to do something good, but especially when you watch internet and how the public discourse devolve over there to shouting matches and algorithmically enhanced outrage, right? It's something that makes you sad, that makes you stressed. And seeing all those instances of basically deliberation and dialogue that goes bad, one can enhance their own opinion that, okay, if we just make slight improvements about the way we communicate with each other, we can have better policies, better decisions, less mistakes, and we can all be better off, right? So yeah, all those aspects led me to this path more and more. And yeah, there is of course drawback of argumentation being this all-encompassing tool that we use every day. So people don't really some people just get it from the get-go. Okay, argumentation mapping is useful because you can see it can function as cognitive scaffolding for you. You can see the bigger picture. You can critically analyze the topic. You can use artificial intelligence to enhance the analysis of the discussion and decision making. It's all great, but for some people, it's like water for fish in the sea, right? It's just all over there, so you don't really think about improving it. And it's like air. It's like something that is just there. It's like a state of nature, but of course it's not. The language is something that was constructed by our cultures for a long time, and the way we talk to each other is very is changing still, but changed a lot through the history. And when we started to be more cautious about the language, present the reasoning as something that can be examined, this led to beginning of philosophy, right? We started to exchange ideas. We started to think critically about the world. We start to think about big things like what is real, what is not real, how why are we conscious, what is the purpose of life, what is moral, what is not moral, how we can best arrange society for the benefit of all, how, can we know the truth or not? Those are very fundamental questions that people living 3,000 years ago started to think about, that basically helped our civilization grow exponentially from that time, because the philosophy led to science led to technology and our modern world that is based on it. And when we go back to the beginnings of philosophy, of critical thinking, about the Plato dialogues, the world is vastly different, but the problems at the bottom, the core problems, remain the same. But when we look at how the knowledge progresses, we can see that some ideas that people believed in the past were just wrong. People didn't have good reasoning behind it, didn't have good arguments. And step by step, collectively, we developed science and academic institutions and so on, that gives us much better understanding of the world we live in. And I think the same goes with ethics and moral philosophy and sociology and law. But it's very hard currently to be knowledgeable about all of those topics, right? But to a certain extent, we need to be knowledgeable about all of it, to make good decisions, to not to lead ourselves off the cliff, because it's quite clear that the changes in the world are very fast, right? But when we don't have good sense making tools to assess the changes, to basically navigate those complex problems with critical thinking and clarity and interdisciplinary knowledge, it's inevitable that we will make huge mistakes that are very costly, and we wouldn't like that. So if we can build on top of the knowledge created by generations, as Isaac Newton said, that if he saw further, it's because he stood on the shoulders of giants. I think that this is exactly the thing that we want to capture using this technology, that public discourse can be something that is this shoulders of giants, that a lot of things and thoughts and private conversations and public conversations are very valuable in terms of their content, the knowledge, the reasoning, the arguments that we use. But the unfortunate part is that collectively as a society we have amnesia. We just talk the same things over and over. We have the same arguments, the same conflicts over and over. And I think right now as a civilization we are stuck. We are stuck on this crazy loop of the same arguments over and over. that are very chaotic, and it gives us very bad energy to conduct ourselves. So the vision that attracts me is that using the knowledge of people, using their personal experiences, their maybe professional experiences, maybe their academic expertise, in a way that contributes to our collective knowledge, as a process in which we are still remain as citizens, as people who are engaged in public debate, not be replaced by politicians, not be replaced by social media algorithms, not be replaced by large language model or any kind of artificial intelligence, but as a part of community that can add something useful for the public discourse. But we need something that will shepherd the public discourse to remember those arguments, to use them in the future when the same topic arises again, to move past the shallow conversations and shallow conflicts, to actually maybe resolve some of them, maybe to map out the better understanding of some important decisions, maybe to end conflicts on bigger scale, in terms of economics, in terms of geopolitics, in terms of technology development, because otherwise we are creating society that can lead into some brave new world territory if we are lucky, but if we are unlucky, some Orwellian territory. So yeah, this is basically our future we are talking about, and we are just don't have any means of collectively navigate through the spaces of possibilities about our future, right? So yeah, that's maybe the end of my long speech.
No, actually, I have several questions connected, and I'm thinking what you were saying at the beginning. So the fact that when we have to discuss about something, I mean, this is my interpretation, that sometimes there are words that trigger us. So we are not, say, rational enough, because that particular word maybe for me has a different meaning than for you. And so it's very important to have an interdisciplinary approach. But of course, we cannot know everything, because it's not possible. And AI, of course, could help us to, where we don't know something, it maybe can help us with that, some knowledge emptiness. I don't know how to call it. And
this problem is very big in terms of large discussions, but it's very easy when large discussion is split into smallest possible pieces, basically claims and arguments. When we analyze one claim, it's much easier to check if the phrasing, the definitions are understood by the parties engaged in discussion, if they use the same language, or maybe there is some equivocation, so the same terms used as something different. We started to build our mechanics exactly with that point of view, that when we break out the big problem into smaller pieces, it enhances our ability to solve them, and there are finite ways and finite techniques to use to go from miscommunication to better communication. There are argument fallacies that we can check. There are certain aspects of the phrasing that can make something more clear. There are some ways to paraphrase the same sentence that would use language that is understood by others, and sometimes just focusing on select key issues is good enough one don't need to know all and to analyze everything, right? If we are certain that the process of giving one argument to the map to the discourse is okay, and improving on this argument and making going from being in error to be less wrong is something that is scalable, and this can lead to having a collective discussion on the scale that is currently not possible without the technology.
And you say the we. So I have also seen on the website that you are a team. There are
Yes.
many peoples. Would you like to say something about the team? Also, how you built the team, how they built the team was, how it happened.
Yeah. So we started in 10 years, 11 years ago in May with the Optimum Foundation. We started as a group of friends from university, but later on, when we decided that okay, the Swarmcheck idea is the technology and educational projects that are connected to argument mapping is something that we want to pursue. We started to build bigger teams. We started to hire philosophers. We started to hire developers, designers, and basically we nearly grew exponentially for several years until 2 years ago. We got 40 people working in different projects in policymaking, in using Swarmcheck in R&D project to combat disinformation, and so on. But unfortunately, the growth was halted by conflict with the public institution that funded one of our research project, and we had to reduce our team. So currently we are only in we have a team of 6 people. We still maintain development, let's say this service aspect of our entrepreneurship. We conduct services for the municipalities and for the pharmaceutical companies and for everybody who wants to improve their decision making, conduct Delphi studies and so on. But yeah, we are right now in recovery mode, but because we took a gamble to rely on public institution. It should be something that every citizen should could rely on in normal circumstances, but sometimes public institutions are faulty, and there are many corruption scandals regarding this particular institution. So our project took a hit concerning this situation, and we were left in very difficult situation because we had to rebuild our software that were in 1/3 of the R&D project, but we managed to overcome the most difficulties through 2 years, and right now we are in as I said 6 member team, and this time I think we will move a little bit slower in terms of building team, but we still want big things in terms of projects and outcomes, especially I think combination of argument mapping technology and our ways of building it into expert systems in combination with language models is something that is very promising in terms of many fields, like of course a safety and ethical development of artificial intelligence. But for the perspective of, let's say, investors and public institutions, legal tech is something that we look into right now. And with our team, we built a POC of the system that uses argument mapping to have explainable legal reasoning about the basically any subject. This is something that we are pursuing right now. So we, in our team, we, as I said, have developers, but let's say philosophers / lawyers, people who are interested in those type of areas and have expertise in it. And yeah, that's the current situation. So I guess we are looking for collaborations, because in the past, when we had much bigger team, we could conduct many more projects at the same time. Right now we are taking things one step at a time, but we're still maintaining good quality of the services, and we still are developing the product.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear the story about with the institution. But yeah, I can imagine that it's not easy. And so the software now, it is made, it is working. What is the state of the software? Like, are you facing some issues? You said that probably you would like to collaborate with other entities, people. So is there any skill, any problem that you're facing right now that you think you will face in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the state of the software is that we can fully operate conducting Delphi studies, social consultations, deliberative processes, and so on. And to that extent, we basically have everything we need. But when we look how the artificial intelligence is being developed, and the ethical issues concerning the transparency, being leaving humans out of the decision-making loop, and hallucination problems, and basically errors that enhance the some very human way of thinking, taking shortcuts, heuristics, and so on. We can see that our technology have so much more potential. So on one hand, we are sufficiently developed technologically to conduct projects that utilize collective intelligence, like those Delphi studies I mentioned. Yeah, the platform have this potential of combining artificial intelligence and collective intelligence that we would like to just have more resources to focus on and develop. Because while we can provide much value in terms of improving collective intelligence, I think the future is relying on coming up with the strategies of incorporating collective intelligence into thinking of artificial intelligence. So this is why we want to focus on legal tech, and we want to focus on stuff like decentralized science, but we cannot have everything at the same time. So if we could have collaborations with people who are interested in legal tech, in decentralized science, and in artificial intelligence in a sense of explainable AI, ethical AI, and building workflows that deal with augmentation, we basically have two R&D projects that are written. They are just waiting to be financed, about using workflows and agents that help improve collective intelligence as contributors. So basically as small-scale moderators that could suggest sources, that could use argument mining for collecting additional data for a discussion from, let's say, scientific literature, or maybe to analyze something from legal perspectives, to give criticism to your idea, to check if the phrasing is something that is confusing for others or can be phrased better, that can join discussions that initially maybe were not joined because the phrasing of some claim were not similar enough for the system to detect it as the same. There are many small aspects of the process of building collective intelligence that can be improved by using large language models. And people who are interested, especially technically, in those areas, can contact me because we need to collaborate on this front. Maybe people who want to jointly apply for some projects for grants that deals with creating data that is combination of artificially created data and human created data that is governed by humans. And of course, when somebody is interested in just using our software as for their own benefit, it's something that is always good for us, like decision making, like Delphi processes, like public consultations, improving internal deliberation in organization. Those are people who we would like to collaborate at the time, and hopefully we can, with some initial push, we can go back on track on improving this combination of artificial and collective intelligence to something that is for benefit of all, that is of benefit to the people who are collaborating with us on this solution. But the end goal is something that I think is just public good, something that reduces this problem of trade-offs, right? This trade-off of security and freedom. The problem of having to manually engage in very minutia of public discourse and being cut it out from it completely by artificial intelligence and so on. It is something that we can combine without the decrease in any of this extreme. I think that our approach can provide the golden ratio of being a subject in public life, decision making of organizations and so on, in collective intelligence, but without the excessive requirements of knowledge and critical thinking and everything that is necessary to not to make any mistakes, to not make any errors. This is something that collective intelligence should take care of. So yeah, if this vision is something interesting for listeners, you can contact me. My email is on Swarmcheck website.
I really hope that someone is going to do it. And I wanted to ask you how hard it was to develop the platform. I mean, because as you say, I mean, there are people now that are researching about new ways for people to agree, and you are one of them. I mean, you're finding new solutions. And is it easy or hard to get fundings? I mean, like, did you have to have a side job, or have you found any?
Yeah, initially I had to have a side job just to start a company. We didn't have any external funding and anything like that. We just used our own time to develop some prototypes, to develop workflows. Our first argument map was on just whiteboard and some cork table with the pins. So basically, argument mapping is something that can be done manually, but of course you cannot compute manual results that well. So we started with those type of projects. We started to get funding from educational projects because, as I mentioned, argument mapping is very useful for developing critical thinking skills, and this is something that can be utilized very well in this type of projects. And argument mapping builds interesting databases. So one of our first projects, besides this educational projects, were about what are the arguments on skills that will be needed in the workplace of the future, right? So we discussed with many experts and we created argument maps about those, and we put it into one ebook for people to see and educate themselves. So with projects like that, we went to bigger and bigger things. One of our biggest projects were educational project Think Like a Scientist, in which we showed on argument maps ways of analyzing the information from methodological standpoint. So basically, we saw that popular science sometimes is only about the results of science, right? So this is like a big telescope and look at the pretty pictures, and scientists found out that chocolate is good for your brain or bad for your brain and stuff like that. But we want people to see, especially young people and students, to see, okay, how scientists know that certain claim is true and how they can know that certain claims is false. So we went into those argument maps about the methodology in social sciences, in more STEM fields, about the process of science, about the citation, about the peer review, and there is to surprise of many much to improve there, much to criticize. Even the peer review process is something that some people are not very happy with, because the review can be done by people who are not that very well versed in the subject. Of course, they should be from the same discipline and so on, but they provide some criticism that one cannot easily disagree with, right? You cannot have a deliberation in the process of peer review, and the different reviewers can disagree with each other. What to do then? And what is the mechanism that compels a reviewer to have like a final ground truth knowledge, right? There is no such mechanism. So of course, it's not saying that peer review should be abolished or anything like that, but it shows that in certain ways peer review could be improved, even with argument mapping. Anonymous argument mapping could improve peer review quite extensively. And we showed how can scientific paper can be transported to argument mapping realm, how claims can be discussed, how sources can showcase that, okay, this data is not only good because it's in the paper, but certain aspect of the experiment produce the data that supports some claim, right? So from this like heuristics and broad view that, okay, this is true because the scientific paper said so, we can go into the details about the methodology, about the ways to be sure on or unsure about the results, about quantifying the uncertainty about the scientific results. about the replication of the study. So those things led us to create this project. And for many people, it helped to develop critical thinking skills that we measured at the end of the project. And now we have a data that showcase that, okay, using argument mapping and having discussions about the methodology is a sure way to increase effectively your critical thinking. On top of that, we conducted research on the user experience of argument mapping, because interestingly, the same information in plain text or in graph form or in dynamic argument map, so basically the map that starts with one claim, when you click it show one argument, the next argument, the next argument, so sequential view of the map. The same information makes people retain information better or worse. So the worst is plain text, and the best is a dynamic view of argument map. Why is that? It's hard to say, but there are some hypotheses. The one I like is, I think it's have a lot of validity, is the idea of cognitive scaffolding. So basically, your attention, your cognitive powers are not wasted on maintaining the connection of data and adding information one by one builds this collective the knowledge about the subject in a way of like you build the structure for the building, the scaffolding, right? So you can navigate the scaffolding easily when you have the means to do it, when you engage visually in the logical relationship of the knowledge you are acquiring. So that was very interesting result for us. And after the educational projects, we started to engage companies that maybe they would like to use argument mapping in their own processes. Unfortunately, many managers don't really think about making the best decision. They think about their job security, and they can have I think misguided view that if they are not the sole decision makers, that they will be seen as unnecessary by the company, and there is a lot of reluctance in private sector to use decision making processes. So in this branch we went to, okay, when you need knowledge and your job depends on it, that this knowledge is correct. So this led us to R&D teams, to pharmaceutical companies that they need studies to for example, Delphi studies to extract knowledge from experts and be sure that the process is right. So this was easier for us to break through in terms of private sector. But at the same time we started educational projects, we started with cooperating with public sector as well. And public sector was more enthusiastic about our approach because they are compelled by the law to conduct public consultations on many policies. So sometimes they do care about the innovation in these areas, but sometimes whatever you do is fine by us. Just produce the results for us. If formal aspects are good, that we are fine. But it allows us to actually test this approach. And as I mentioned, in case of educational policies, in terms of climate policies in local level, in terms of public consultation, and actually including the people's arguments and opinions to some final policy is something that we see that people who are part of these processes can see benefit. That they're pleasantly surprised that the whole process of deliberation feels like a game to them. It's like something that is entertaining, in addition to be useful to see other perspectives, to voice their own opinions, and people really like the idea that it's not only opinions, it's not only my way or the highway. It's a knowledge that can be criticized. It can include some opinions that later on in the discussion were proven to be wrong, because in everyday discussions in let's say face-to-face participation, mediated discussions and stuff like that, it's too much relying on moderators' ability to translate everything correctly and remember everything and summary everything in a way that is not excluding someone else. And if the conflicts arise, that the conflict is rather hushed than resolved productively. But people actually appreciate constructive criticism. But it's hard for people to give constructive criticism in everyday setting, because this is not skill we are born with, right? So we still do some public consultations and policy making, but as I mentioned before, right now we are mostly focused on our Delphi processes and our legal tech applications, because in our mind, in our opinion, it's something that can be the closest to the fastest application that utilizes artificial intelligence and collective intelligence to the market need of having quick contract analysis, having improve some legal reasoning in some court cases and so on. But on the other hand, it's not far enough from our R&D that can improve artificial intelligence and collective intelligence in areas like combating disinformation or having crowdsource science and creating big databases of connected reasoning in a manner that is similar to Wikipedia, but maybe on more of Wikipedia of connected reasoning, of connected arguments. So this is the pathway that we are still on, but we are focusing on the legal tech and Delphi methods at the time.
And talking about law, that is a very interesting topic. Do you think that, in the future, do you think that the laws as we know them now could change? Like that there could be a different kind of system? I don't know if you had any thought about the future, if you think that because if we think about the law that we have now, of course they are, maybe they were created 20 years ago, but the system is quite old. We can go back like 2,000 of years. And maybe in relations also with other kind of technologies. I don't know if you are interested in the Web3, like smart contracts made me think about law, but maybe in a different term compared to what we know.
We are very interested in DAOs and technology like that for decentralized organizations and decentralized decision making. and decentralized science as well, as I mentioned. But in terms of what is the future of law, it's something that have a spectrum of possibilities, right? So on one hand, we can just see at the past and how before something that we see as a given, so the rule of law, the judicial system that is independent of executive system and the legislative branches. The things we get for granted, we take for granted, maybe will devolve, right? Maybe more authoritarian system of governance will outcompete, maybe not necessarily outcompete, maybe just they will collapse from internal strife and the way currently politicians are getting power in democratic systems. There are a lot of worrying signals that democracy is something that may be a phase in history of civilization. We wouldn't like to see that. We would like to strengthen the best aspects of democracy, but it means that democracy should evolve. It should respond to the current problems, because alternative of democracy in the rule of law is just the dictatorship as somebody dictates to what is the law and you must obey or be put to death or something like that, right? So going into the happier outcome, I think there are still some important challenges. On one hand, we can imagine, let's start with positive future. We can imagine that public discourse itself can be a governing force for the best law that we have. It's technically feasible that the discussion like we have right now and millions of discussions that people have, in public sphere, not in their private lives, but when they want to engage in something publicly, we can use those discussions to extract important arguments, reasoning, value-based reasoning, and add it to collective discussions. And those discussions can, influence how the rules are applied to the whole society. Basically, we can directly and indirectly influence the rules by talking about them, right? That would be something very sci-fi, but totally technically feasible. So there is one of the idea of that. So basically, we are governed by our collective intelligence in terms of country or maybe humanity as a whole. I don't know. Some people see it as something positive. Some people fear more nefarious things like New World Order or something like that. Of course, I think all of it is possible, right? We can have global government that is positive for people. We can have global government that is bad for people. We can have individual nation states that are good for citizens. We can have nation states that are in war and they're oppressing their own citizens. So having ability to use current technologies and future technologies to surveillance citizens, to control them, to remove their own agency and personhood, and basically have the pretenses and the show of democracy instead of democracy, as we see in many authoritarian countries right now. Yeah, it's interesting that most of them conduct some sham democratic elections just for the performance of it. That is real possibility as well, right? And in those cases, law can be used as a system of oppression, as a system that coordinates apparat of executive, of government, police, to control citizens, to check for dissidents, to shape the society as the most powerful people wants, right? So the one option is quite good, right? We can just basically improve rationality of law and have a say in our future, and use collective intelligence to navigate our collective decision making, navigate to the future scenarios that are possible, to have good sense making and so on. But on the other hand, we can just leave all of that. We can reduce our agency. We can reduce ability to make decisions on our own behalf, reduce voice of criticism of the power of the government, and have only the spectacle of democracy. I think everything in this case is possible, and many scenarios in between. So for me, it's still undecided, right? What would be the role of artificial intelligence? On the one hand, it can speed up some processes. It can basically allows us for better deliberation, for better decision making. But on the other hand, it can be used as a surveillance tool. It can be used as a means of thinking for us, not with us. It can maybe in the future develop as a new agent that is the new force of decision making. So I think there are no physical objections to have like super intelligence, strong artificial intelligence that is as smart in accordance to humanity as we are in accordance to chimpanzees, right? So when we are the second most intelligent species on the planet, we have the same ability to influence the future of this planet as the current second most intelligent species have. So that's worrying, right? And I think only alternative to it is collective intelligence. There is no other thing. We cannot, being stupider, we cannot control something smarter than us. I think that many smart people think that it is possible to some extent, but I would present maybe some argument maps. So the risk of artificial intelligence that is smarter than us and is basically pulling all the shots about the future that our planet is moving into and realizing their own goals is quite possible in, I don't know about near-term future, but even in medium term, it's not something that I would exclude. Maybe even not in near-term future. So the risk of being the second most intelligent species on the planet that does not have shared means of decision making. So basically using collective intelligence with the artificial intelligence as the method of making decisions about our future, the future of civilization, is something that is one of the biggest risks. If the ability of artificial intelligence increases and our ability of incorporating this intelligence into our collective intelligence is not increasing, we will be left behind. And I don't know if it was recorded, but I compared the most intelligent species right now to the second most intelligent species, chimpanzees, and their ability to influence the future, right? So if we as a humanity will go down as a second most intelligent species, I don't think it would be wise to not do give ourselves the ability to be incorporated in the decision-making process of the future artificial intelligences, and the only way through this process is collective intelligence. The interesting thing that showcases that this is possible is the interesting aspect of technology, that you don't really need to understand everything to use technology, right? You don't have to know how the electricity is made, how the light bulb is created, how the electricity is moving, through the city, the collective electric grid, is operated to just push a button and you have a light, right? There is some power in the setup of knowledge that we can use, and I think that the ability to reuse knowledge in argumentation have the same property, right? So we still can be on equal footing, even with intelligences greater than ours, to be part of this collective negotiation, this collective argumentation, because if our voice is added to the voices of others and the argumentation of others, it creates something that is more than just our one idea, right? It's the complex of idea, all the ideas that were discussed in this that were discussed in this topic, that can influence the decision-making processes of even super intelligent beings, right? Because once the knowledge is produced, it can be applied many times for our benefit. So the philosophical discussions, the discussion about values, discussion about why it's good to do something that motivates and frames the decision making are so crucial, and we don't really have them because the internet is full of the surface level discussion, and the data that is used to train the models is mostly on the surface level discussions. But we need the ability to join the value-based reasoning, argumentation that can go deep into the nuances and represent many perspectives into this type of discussion, to preserve our human values into the future, into the data that is used by stronger and stronger artificial intelligence.
I share with you the hope about the future of the positive aspect. I mean, that humanity can use tools to agree on things and maybe find new ways for governance. And I would like to ask you if you have any message to the community of civic tech, of the people in the civic tech field, if you think they are collaborating in a good way, is there anything that...
Yeah, the first thing is just, if the things I spoke about are of interest to you, just contact me. We can see how we can collaborate. The scale of collaboration can be discussed, because we are quite flexible and we have experience of incorporating many people to our organization. And another thing is that I think that it's very noble to work in civil tech, because it's something that is much needed, and it's not very easy to survive in this field. I would say the fact that we, after this big collapse of one of our biggest projects, we still managed to survive with additional problems like that, is due to the tremendous amount of work by our team. And I think that many civil tech organizations and people who are interested manage to struggle with similar issues, or just just having to explain those complex ideas about new ways of governing and all the technical and UX difficulties that stems from that is a thing that oftentimes do not produce result quickly. So yeah, in terms of having impact, which is I believe something that many people care about mostly, it is good that we have initiatives that can we can network like with the MetaGov initiative. The podcast as yours is very good example of something that can be a beacon for many people who are interested in the subject. And I would say just don't only look around, just give it a go. It's not that difficult to be engaging in just one small project that have a beginning and end, and try it out and experiment a lot, and share the results with the community. Especially I think good examples of applied civil tech are very encouraging, because they are not only showing the community that those things can be done, they show decision makers that this is something that is happening, others are using it and having good results. Really goes a long way. So yeah, I would encourage you to just keep persisting, and yeah, if you have ability and time, engage with the community, engage with me if you want. I oftentimes spend my own free time about to discuss those issues and those projects with people. So yeah, keep on. It's one of the most important thing one can work in. So given our current state of the world and the trajectories for democratic governments and democracy in the future, and emergence of artificial intelligence, we are on the crossroads, and the future is uncertain, but we can push it a little bit into the directions that we all would like to see. So that would be my message.
Thank you. And yeah, absolutely sure that these topics are very important. I mean, they could avoid eventually wars or other kind of conflicts. And yeah, so I share your hope. And do you have anything you would like to talk or to add that maybe we haven't touched before?
Yeah, I think that the last thing, the aspect of wars is something that inspired me to mention something, because when you see ordinary people that have to be in some war situation, to be soldiers and so on, governments have to come up with the ways of convincing you that you are able to kill another. It's not natural for humans, for most humans, excluding maybe some psychopaths, to take a person's life, right? So this is just something that are of course powerful forces that shape us into the situations in which we kill each other. But there are so many cases that we can show that when we are able to talk to each other, even our enemies, right, the ability to resolve conflicts are immense, if the powerful governments are not backing it. And I think that we as a society need something that will protect us from the abuses of power, the abuses of tyranny, abuses of people who invade other countries, abuses of power of people who want further their own interest. Because if we are able to talk to each other directly without our governments, but coordinate as a person to person, as a ordinary humans that want to live and have a good life and so on, we have so much thing in common, and the only way that, and in the past there was this vision of the internet, right? That when the internet will emerge, we'll just have this connection. We don't have it, but it doesn't mean that it is not possible. We just have to have right tools for this type of communication. And yeah, we just don't give up. Don't think that social media as it is the only way to communicate. The social media didn't exist 2 decades ago, right? Everything changes so fast that it's important to remember that today we are building the future. So don't stop your imagination on what's possible.
Yeah, you make me think that when I mean, if people are able to discuss in a horizontal way, maybe this is not so convenient for people that have power. But this is another problem. Also,
Yeah, we have to be sneaky about this.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you a lot, and it was very interesting to have you here.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for having me.